Well, it's like I said last time we were here. I said, my advice to anybody out there is just be honest.
Right.
We all have flaws. None of us are perfect. We all have things we're struggling with. We all have things we're dealing with. We all have things that we wish would be different. That's okay, right? That's part of this human experience.
Right. But you want to find that partner that you can truly be yourself, all sides of yourself with. You don't want to have to hide something from someone.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sargent Squared. I'm Scott.
And I'm Christy.
And today we're going to be talking all about Christy's previous dating life before we met.
No, we're not.
And
we're going to continue.
Should be riveting.
Oh, look.
Exciting, and I think we'll all learn something. So,
We're going to continue talking about the dating apps. It's a continuation from the last episode.
Yeah.
And we get to hear all the fun stories of the dates that Scott went on and his little catfishing story. And
all right.
I can tell
I'll
you
give it all away.
Which wasn't very long before he locked this down.
All right, let's get into it. Well, you're in a good mood today.
Well, yeah, I can't wait to hear about all your exciting experiences.
It's not always going to be about my experiences. The world wants to hear about timid little Christy and goody two shoes and.
Oh wow, going for the jugular today.
Come on, I know that there's some good dirt there.
Really, there's not that much dirt.
I don't believe you.
No.
So, talk to me, Goose.
So what we're going to pick up where we left off. We had just started exploring these dating apps, which seemed totally taboo to our old butts. But we were willing to put ourselves out there.
You actually just had an opportunity to share with a friend about dating apps, what, a day or two ago?
I did.
It's funny because we've been talking about them, kind of on our journey. And then tell me about that. Tell me about how that kind of came about. I thought it was an interesting story.
Well, I mean, it was kind of interesting just because that's what we're talking about right now. She just reached out. She kind of saw our love story play out through social media because, of course, I was posting everything, all of our fun adventures and different things we did. And she wanted to know how we met and learn a little bit more about the dating apps. And so we met up and talked about that. And she's been inspired to get back out there and give the dating apps a try. So I think she already has a couple dates lined up.
Yeah. Is she in your age group?
A little bit older, but yeah. So, I mean, we talked about last time how scary that is for someone a little older. That's something so foreign to meet someone online. So
she had, up to then, she'd not ventured out into the world of online dating? No,
she hadn't. So let's get back into it.
Hey, tough crowd here.
Yeah, because people they're going to hear about our story.
Well, before our story, we got to hear about your story.
What do you mean, my story? I told you I had a pretty good experience. I met some really nice guys, but none of them were you. I didn't have that instant connection with any of them, which I didn't even know was possible to have an instant connection with somebody.
Yeah.
But we definitely did.
The whole experience of meeting somebody, virtually meeting somebody online, and then setting up plans to go out it just felt really awkward to me, which is weird because I'm very extroverted. I'm very much of a social person. And so meeting people and talking to people and getting together and doing whatever was just natural to me. But there was something about the mechanics of picking somebody out online and setting up plans. I don't know.
I loved it.
Of course you did.
It was a lot of fun.
I know, but didn't it feel like, I don't know.
No, because, I mean, obviously it's very superficial until you meet and hang out and see. It was still a lot of fun for me. And I definitely, the guys that were kind of lingering and just wanting to talk, I'm like, ask me out on a date. I'm not here for a pen pal. I mean, I didn't say that, but I'm thinking I moved on because obviously for me, the goal of that app was to eventually meet someone. I didn't want to just be pen pals or talk to somebody. If they're not immediately setting up a date, you're like, okay, this smells a little fishy. What's going on here?
I was just getting ready to say, if somebody's online on one of these dating apps and they're wanting to keep the conversation going, but they don't want to meet up or go. There's something going on.
Yeah.
That's if we talk about like things to think about, things to watch out for, especially for people that haven't ventured into this world. That's a key. If someone's trying to like continue to be a little bit mysterious or not one to actually meet, yeah, it's probably time to pull the plug on that one.
Yeah, and then another red flag, which obviously I didn't go out or continue talking to this person any longer. He was like, hey, let's talk through this. I didn't even know what it was. I guess it was like a WhatsApp, but it was something I'd never heard of, some other messaging. Like, he didn't want to exchange numbers. He wanted to message through this. So, there's some shady stuff going on there.
Why don't you go ahead and switch over to this totally encrypted messaging
Exactly.
site?
He was probably going to ask me for $5,000 next, to make his house payment or something. But
sounds like he didn't want his wife to know he was talking to somebody else.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to watch out for that and kind of try to weed through that. And I was lucky enough to be able to weed through that and not actually meet any of those people that seemed a little off.
Mm-hmm. So no, you want me to talk about my experience.
I know, but you talk about it, and then I do actually feel a little sorry for the catfish story.
For her?
Yes,
No,
just because
she knew what she was doing.
I know, but obviously she must have been insecure if she was
maybe
doing that.
So one of my first experiences with actually meeting, I had met a couple people.
Let me get comfortable.
Yeah, go ahead and get comfortable. I had met a couple people prior, online dating.
But it wasn't the Bumble app, was it? Because you'd said your first experience on the Bumble app was this Catfish.
Yep.
Or as far as once you got back into town.
Yeah, I didn't find the Bumble app till sometime later. And again, I'm not here promoting. By the way, folks, we're not promoting any of these apps, dating sites. There's no paid promotion here. It's not Bumble. This is just our experience. Right. And there's probably a lot of good ones out there today. I haven't been on one in a few weeks. So
Cut. This episode is over. This whole channel is over. Why are you trying to get me spooled up, Sargent?
No, so I don't know. In the last 5-6 years, who knows what's out there? And there's I'm sure they've only gotten better. Matter of fact, you were saying that you helped your friend set up her Bumble account.
Oh,
and it's a lot
yes.
right?
And it was a lot different. It had a lot more questions. And ironically enough, it had the question, how tall are you, before you finished making your profile.
Did we already talk about that?
We talked about that.
Yeah,
you were scared. I was like 6'4" or something.
So they asked for input on how to make the app. I don't know. Today you need to put height in there.
Yeah, but it's a good thing they didn't, because I might have put 6 foot and above, and then you wouldn't have been anywhere near that stratosphere. You started it.
Proud.
You started it. I love you. I'm teasing.
Just because I'm 5'4" doesn't. I'm not. Anyway, so had a couple experiences, and they were waded into the whole meeting somebody through an online connection, and like I said, I had moved to a new city, so really didn't know anybody. So that was the only way I felt it would work, meeting some folks. So fast forward through one of the other dating apps, I had connected with this lady, attractive lady, seemed really nice, good online communication, kind of banter back and forth. There wasn't any red flags. And this individual said they were a teacher in a neighboring town about maybe 30 miles away. So we had talked for a few days, and then she said, "Hey, why don't we meet?" I'm like, "Okay, let's meet." So at the time, she was planning on going to this outdoor concert that was pretty close to where I was living at the time. And she said, "Well, hey, why don't we meet down there? Open and be, won't be so. Just want it to be open. It'd be fun, chance to meet and hang out." Oh, that's a good idea. It was the summertime and the weather was great, so this is great. So I was pretty excited. I met this girl. She was, everything about her seemed really nice. So the evening or the day of the meetup, I'm headed down to the concert, driving down there. And so while I'm driving down there, she sends me a screenshot or a photo of her.
A selfie. It's called a selfie.
Yeah, that's it, selfie. Yeah, that new thing called a selfie.
Right.
Yeah. So she sends me a selfie of her driving the car that she's going there. So I could see, what she's wearing at the top, so I can kind of recognize her in the crowd. So anyway, she's already there. I get down there, park, and I walk up, and there's just a ton of people, and there's a gate where you got to pay to go through. And so I'm kind of scanning the crowd as I'm walking up to the place where the entrance gate where you got to pay. And I see this lady kind of waving at me. And the reason I noticed her was because she had this like bright pink top on, and it was the same color top. And it was in the selfie this girl sent me. And I'm looking, and it's a little bit of ways away, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I don't really look like her, So I get a little closer, and so she's walking up to the other side of the gate, and I'm walking up. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but I didn't have any cash on me. I don't know what I was thinking. I was going to pay with a credit card or what. But so the guy's like, "Hey, it's $10," and I was like, "Oh man, I don't have $10."
There's no way I would have handed $10 over to
Right?
somebody I was just meeting.
So I'm like, "Oh man, I don't have $10." And then
Poor
so this
thing.
girl, she walks up and she's looking at me. She hands me. Now I can get a good look at her. And she goes, "Oh, here's $10. Just take mine." So I take the $10 and pay, and I walk in, and then that's the first time we meet, and Christy, she looked nothing like what she had presented herself to. Now I'm not a judge. I'm not judging anybody's looks or anything like that. What I was really ticked off about was the misrepresentation, right? So she had been an expert in Photoshop. I mean, it was just night and day. So now I'm like upset because this is exactly what I thought.
More about the feeling like you'd been deceived.
Yeah, I thought it just was confirming these beliefs and assumptions I had. Like, this is exactly what online dating is. There's a bunch of people out there that are lying, misrepresenting themselves, and wasting my time, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she goes, "Oh, let's go. We're going to meet some folks I'm with." So we walk through this corridor of people, and I'm just thinking this whole time, like, what am I going to do? So we walk maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. We get to this area, and we're going to go up to the second level where her friends are, but we got to wait to go up the stairs. And so she kind of she turns around, and she says, "So, do the pictures look like me?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "No, they don't look anything like you." I'm like, "This isn't you." I said, "This is like, you totally lied to me."
I mean, of all questions, she obviously knew they looked nothing like her. Why else would she ask that?
Yeah, I was pissed. And she's like, "Oh," she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "You know what? I'm just going to leave." And she's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm leaving." So I said, "If you'll give me an address or something, I'm going to mail your $10
Which
back
that
to
sounds
you."
creepy too.
I know, right?
Give
But
me
I'm
your
like-
address.
She's like, "No, don't worry about it." I'm like, "No, I'm giving you your $10 back." I'm like, this is it. So anyway, I left, walked out of the concert, got back in my vehicle, and headed home. And I was just like, I was feeling a lot of emotions. I was ticked off. I was, again, it was a whole misrepresentation, confirmation of what I believed about the whole online dating thing. And so I was almost going to wash my hands of it.
Yeah. It's a good thing I didn't judge you for all the Photoshop you did on your pictures. I'm teasing. You're so nervous. Like, what? No, I didn't come across that with guys. I guess that's maybe it's a thing that girls may do more than guys as far as photoshopping their pictures.
It makes sense. You want to put pictures up that represent you. You want to get, your best angle shots or whatever. I know there's a whole, there's like a whole process to that.
Yeah.
And that would have been fine. And because she was a nice person. Matter of fact, we had talked on the phone prior to the meeting. Great conversation.
Yeah. But you're right. If they're lying about that, what else are they lying about? I mean, I'd already been through never mind. That sounds mean. I'm not going to say it. But.
You'd been through.
Well, I just, in my past.
You can generalize it.
Yeah. In my past, I dealt with a lot of lies.
Oh, yeah.
So, any sign of someone lying or being, I was out.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Been there, done that. I'm not repeating that.
Well, it's like I said last time we were here. I said, my advice to anybody out there is just be honest.
Right.
We all have flaws. None of us are perfect. We all have things we're struggling with. We all have things we're dealing with. We all have things that we wish would be different. That's okay, right? That's part of this human experience.
Right. But you want to find that partner that you can truly be yourself, all sides of yourself with. You don't want to have to hide something from someone.
Yeah, I mean, give the person the opportunity when you first connect, and I'm talking about online now. Give the person the opportunity to decide, hey, do I want to connect with this person or not? You're not going to be everything to everybody, right? I mean, we're just not. I mean, I had my criteria. You had your criteria. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about some of the criteria. You know, as I was thinking, I want to do this whole online dating thing, you know, and certainly I had an age criteria. There was a range, and that's fine. And I had I didn't want to date again because at the time I was thinking about, hey, I'd like to find a long-term relationship. So that was my focus. If I was just kind of just meeting people, it might have been a little different, but I didn't want to meet anybody with young kids. I had raised my kids. It just wasn't a season of life I wanted to repeat.
And I think that's all that anybody wants is all that honesty and what do you want? Because, you know, at least that's how I was, because I didn't want to waste anybody's time and I didn't want them to waste my time either.
Right. Yeah. I didn't want to meet anybody that, this is going to sound bad again, but had pets. I'm thinking about pets, but like I wanted to be able to just go. And I know a lot of times pets and children, you know, you have that responsibility. You got to be home a lot. It was just things that I wanted in that season of my life. So she could have been honest. Probably could have had a good conversation. We may or may not have connected, but it definitely wasn't going to go anywhere after she pulled that little stunt.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I've heard, you know, there's actually a show on, or at least there was a show on TV.
Oh, there was.
Right, about Catfish.
Yes.
And this happens like
but those were
all the time.
To the extreme. Like,
right.
Totally, yeah.
Right, but it is just it's one of those things that you just have to expect when you're dealing with meeting people through the internet. Right?
Yeah.
So that was my catfish story. I want to hear, not every date you had could have been like
we don't have enough time for that.
You know, at some point, if you don't start like being open in these conversations, I'm gonna find another co-host.
Ha ha ha! No, I had good experiences with the people that I actually met.
I want to hear about.
You want to hear the bad ones? Well, I told you about the guy that the friend looked at his picture and said, "Oh, I know him, and I think he's married." And then there was a guy that like his first comment was said something about my appearance. I'm not going to say. It was a compliment, but it was kind of crude. And I was like, that's not why I'm here.
Was it a total douche statement?
Yeah. And I was like, that's not why I'm on here. And ixnayed him right away. He never, obviously we never conversed anymore. He never got my phone number.
I wonder if like people actually think that stuff is at work, or are they just completely ignorant?
Well, I mean, I guess
maybe they figure if they say it 100 times,
for.
maybe they'll find one person that likes being talked to that way. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it wasn't this girl. And, I mean, nothing that horrible. I sound like a little brat again, don't I? Like my life's perfect. But I was lucky and was able to kind of weed that out before I actually met people.
So many different dates you think you went on?
I have no clue.
Did you know
I have bad memory.
Like, how many different people?
I don't know.
G-rated.
I don't remember.
Me neither. I totally lost count.
Exactly. I mean, that's one thing nice about them. You definitely expand your lake of fish or whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah. What did shooting fish in a barrel?
I don't know
who said that?
Well, that wasn't me.
But anyway, yeah. But you also have to weed through the ones that aren't there for the reason you want to be there. And so.
Yeah. So I think for me, before we talk about you and I, if I had to say a couple things about the dating is just, again, be honest. Don't be afraid to say what you want or what you're looking for or who you're at or what season of life you're in. Because this really is about, it's going to sound selfish, but it's about you, right? You're the one that's out there trying to find good company or whatever, and a good experience. And so it's okay to be selfish. I love somebody told me one time, I think I'm repeating myself, but the true meaning of selfishness is self-care. So part of that is take care of yourself. Don't settle.
Absolutely.
Spend the time with the people that you want to, that interest you, that you connect with, whatever you want to call it, and don't apologize for it.
I would agree.
But
with
just
all that.
treat people the way you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
Right? If you don't want somebody catfishing you or saying inappropriate things or doing things, then don't do that. And I think if you do that, if you approach it that way, you'll probably have a really good experience meeting, because there are a lot of great people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's also like, don't burn bridges. You meet somebody, you treat them with honor, dignity, and respect. It's kind of crazy how many other opportunities might come into your life as a result of meeting that one person that you may or may not have a romantic connection with. As a matter of fact, somebody told me recently, some of these apps like Bumble, I think now they have not just the dating app, but there's another section of it. It's like friend app.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're if you move to a new city, or maybe you're living, whatever, you can meet new friends, platonic, just through this app. Is that right?
Yeah. I think it's called Bumble BFF.
Yeah.
You can meet a group of friends if you're like totally new to an area, which is really cool. Kind of, meet some people with the same interests as you. And
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole meetup
yeah.
thing that they had for like getting involved in different things. So I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So in today's busy schedule and the way people are so fragmented and relocated geographically, those kinds of tools are really, really cool.
Yeah. I feel like I used to kind of feel like the stigma around when people would say, how did you guys meet? And I would say online, and, their eyes would kind of, older people, their eyes would kind of go up. But I don't feel that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, totally glad that I did it, that I put myself out there, and then I met someone as wonderful as you.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you. I think there was, maybe still is, a little bit of a stigma around meeting people online in different seasons of your life. Again, my experience in talking with people is that some of the younger generations, that's just commonplace.
Right.
And when you get into folks in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, there is a stigma.
Yeah, because it's different. That's not how it was done.
And I don't want to dive in too much in the psychology of it, but it does exist. That stigma, some people feel like, I'm a failure in relationships, that's why I got to find somebody online. Or, it's these negative connotations that you can tell these stories to yourself. They're not true. But you can start believing, there's something wrong with me that I have to go to this extreme or to this avenue to meet people. If you start like that, you start with those beliefs, nothing good is going to come of it, right? So I think the key is changing your perspective and saying, hey, this is just another opportunity. It's actually a positive. So if you can back up and change the perspective and how you see it, then you meet great people like I met you.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that have met online and are happily married and have started families, and so I say just put yourself out there and go for it. If you're really looking for love, it doesn't matter how you find it, right? Yep. It's just the end result is what matters.
Yep. So you shared that you were looking for that long-term relationship and had gone through hundreds of different guys.
Not true. Not true.
So, and then we connected. So what was different?
I don't know. It was an instant connection that was totally different than what I had felt with anyone else that I had met or gone out with.
So, but I mean, what could you tell people? Like, what was it? Was it a just intuition thing? Was it?
I guess.
Like, how does somebody know if they're sitting here listening to you and they're like, oh man, I really want that in my life. And you say, oh, there was just something different. Like,
I guess it was intuition. I just felt it in my gut. Our first date was so easy. I was so comfortable just being myself. I mean, and that was a biggie. Just being totally comfortable in my skin and being who I was. not having to feel like I had to present myself a certain way for you. We just hit it off. It was.
Yeah.
It felt like I had known you my whole life. It's so strange to me still to this day when I think about it.
I felt the same way. Maybe before we ever talked. And I was driving I was driving back to where I live from where I grew up. It's about an 8-hour drive. And I think that was the first time you and I actually spoke on the phone. We had connected a lot through text and different apps, but this is the first time we talked.
Yeah, you know me, the introvert. I'm like, oh crap, he wants to talk. Because it is much easier to text because you kind of have a second. You can think about what you want to say. And
you remember the little dare that you gave me on my drive home?
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to. I can't remember.
The cartwheel.
I do remember the cartwheel, but I'm trying to remember what led up to it.
I had said something to you on the phone.
Oh,
you said, you got major
it was
points.
after the height question was answered.
height.
When I told you that I was 5'9", and you were like, whew, I'm 5'10", perfect. And you said, I'm so happy right now I could do a backflip or something.
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, well, I don't want you to do that because, at your age, you might break something. And I said, if you do a cartwheel for me, you'd win some major bonus points. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, I get this little video come through my phone, and I'm like, what is this? And there's Mr. Sargent at a rest stop with a lady giggling behind his cell phone and him doing a cartwheel. And I absolutely loved it because it just showed your personality, that you were fun, that you would, just something silly like that that you would do that for me.
Yeah, I was like, I knew it was weird. I was head over heels. I hadn't really met you, but yeah. So I got that. I was pulling into a rest stop, and I'm thinking to myself, am I gonna do this? Am I not gonna do this? Like, I really don't care what people think of me, but it was a little awkward. So I'm out there. Those little rest stops. You got the place with the restrooms, and you usually have an open area where there's picnic tables and grass. And there's this lady over there walking her dog. And so I walked over, and I'm like, this is gonna sound really stupid, but. And I told her briefly what the story was, and I said, "Would you video this for me?" And she just giggled. She's like, "Okay." So I did this cartwheel for you. Meanwhile, there's people sitting in their cars looking like, "What in the hell is going?"
In your flip flops too,
and
it was a darn good cartwheel.
Right?
I was impressed.
Thank you.
You had me at
paid
cartwheel
attention in gym class. So I sent it, and I was like, "But that's how." Same thing. Like it was just intuitive. I'm like, some voice inside me said, "This is it. This is her." And so I just went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we, the following weekend or a couple weekends later.
Yeah. You were trying to nail down that date quick, which I liked. And then you were
I tried to get a date earlier. However, you said you had a family function you had to go to.
Well, I was still dating,
Yeah.
but I didn't think that would come across.
Turns out, folks, this family function was she had a date set up already, and so that day was already taken. And I already knew that because you sent me this picture, and I thought, wow, she's really dressed up for this family event. Months and years later, after I got
it was
to know
not months and years
after I got to know your family, I'm like, she wasn't going to her family event. She had a date. But that was good. I bought it.
Anyway, because you didn't know me yet. We weren't exclusive yet. But I really didn't want to tell you, I have a date. You have to wait in line. So anyway, we went out on our first date. I told you to surprise me, in which you did. You were like, okay. And I love that. I liked the excitement of not knowing what we were going to do. Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's see, what do I want to do? So I talked to some coworkers, got some input from some females, and said, hey, what would be a good idea? I'm thinking about this and that. And one of them gave me an idea. I said, hey, why don't you go and do one of these wine and painting classes? You sit down, and you have some wine, you paint something that's already been predetermined. I had never done that. They're like, she would probably enjoy that. So I thought, all right, yeah, we'll go and do this painting class, and then we'll go to dinner. I'll take her to dinner, and then that'll be the evening. And so I put this together. It was in the fall when we had met, and so there's this painting class. Oh, this is really cool. You sit down and you'll paint, and it was an autumn theme where each person was going to do a canvas of like a I think a maple leaf. It was a maple leaf, right? So one person does the one maple leaf and the other one does the other, and then blah, 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 and you have some wine, you have a good time. Great idea. So I booked it. And so then we went, and I picked you up, and
which my daughter gave me a lot of crap about. She was like, you're letting him come to your house and pick you up. But something, I felt so comfortable with you, and like that didn't, I never let anybody else come pick me up.
oh, I came bearing gifts. 3 gifts, just like
You
the wise man.
did,
right?
you did.
Had a bottle of wine.
From Spain.
From
a
Spain.
nice bottle of
When I
wine.
was at Spain, I brought some back, and I was saving it for special occasions, so that was perfect. Gave you that. I gave you a nice scented candle. And then while I was waiting for you to get ready, I'd stopped at a local
I was thinking, what was the
department
third?
store, and I had bought something, and they gave me like a $5 in-store coupon. So
It was
$10.
$10.
So I was like, "Here, there's if you
$10
shop
Kohl's
here,
cash, actually.
there you go, burying gifts." I think that was it, sealed the deal.
Yeah. I mean, you were laid it on thick. The cartwheel,
Right?
the 3
I'll
gifts.
tell you what, I was full court press there. But anyway, but what was completely, I say, traumatizing to me was when we got to the painting place and we sat down and we were driving, and I thought, this girl's got a great sense of humor. Because I can be pretty sarcastic. It's just the way my family is. That's the way I grew up. But it's all good fun, and so I love to joke and kid. And you were like right there, and we were just connecting on all cylinders. I thought, or firing on all cylinders. I thought, this is great. So we get there, we sit down, and they show us what we're painting. And it's the 2 maple leaves, but I didn't see the words on the pamphlet, and it said, the little play on them said, "Fall in love," and I thought, oh my God, what have I done?
Stage 5, clinger.
Right? She's gonna think, love me. I thought, I was mortified.
Oh, you were? I didn't realize it bothered you
Because you're
that
like,
much.
why is this guy taking me in a painting class that says fall in love? Like, this is our first date.
You know what? And that I had it didn't alarm me at all.
Man, if I could have crawled under that desk, I would have that day. But we had a lot of fun.
We did.
Yeah,
It was a
ton
lot
of
of
fun.
fun. Conversation flowed.
Yep.
Totally comfortable. You were super sweet and funny.
And so the next day, would you say, you waiting around for me to call?
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, this, well, we did the painting. We had a nice dinner. You were super sweet at dinner, pulling out my chair, opening my door, even stood up whenever I got up to go to the restroom, which I absolutely love all that chivalry. So anyways, first date, perfect. Went home with butterflies in my stomach and was waiting. Didn't wait long. You did call me the next day, and we talked, and I was like, wow, I wish she would ask me
Keep
out
them
again.
waiting, gentlemen. Keep them waiting.
I don't wait too long. You know that. So you asked me out a second night, the Saturday.
Had you over, made dinner for you.
You did.
Yep. And then the third, we went out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday I had
A cookout.
coworker that was having a cookout. And it was just really small group, and you went with me. And boom, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I knew I knew it was it. I thought, boy, if there's anything I want to go and pursue, it's this. So I think I told you shortly after. I said, hey,
You did.
can
It
do
was
what
that weekend.
Yeah, so you can do what you want. I'm not telling you what to do. I know we're new, but I'm just letting you know that I'm actually getting off the dating apps because I want to see where this goes. If it goes where I hope it goes, awesome. If not, that's fine. I mean, I get it. Not really. I mean, I was both fingers crossed hoping it would.
Yeah, I didn't feel any pressure
Yeah.
from you. But when you said that, I love that honesty and that vulnerability for you to say that. And I was like, you know what? That's exactly what I want to. I want to see where this goes with just you. And so I hung up my Bumble card
Right?
and never looked back.
Yeah, and I think that's something else I would tell people too is again, if you're out dating and you want to meet different people and that's where you're at in life, that's great. Just let them know that.
Exactly.
But if you connect with somebody and it's mutual and you guys want to see where it goes, give the person respect and don't continue shopping for people online. It never ever works out, right? Nothing ever good comes of that. If that's understood between the two of you, that's fine. and because it can be addictive to go through and you're
Sure.
meeting people and
Yeah.
and it's this newness and but it's just a jerk move if you do that while this other person thinks, oh, hey, we're going to kind of see if there's any.
Yeah. Thinks
There's
like
any
they're the only one, and meanwhile, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So once again, it all comes back to honesty.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
So any last thoughts, points as we kind of wrap up here about dating? Like, what would you tell your younger self?
You did it all right, girl. No, I'm teasing. I'm glad I put myself out there, because my personality, I'm a little more shy and reserved, and that was a very scary step for me to meet strangers and go out on these dates. But you've just gotta, if that's what you want, then you gotta open yourself up and just go for it and be open to meeting new people.
I would say the same thing to anybody who's not familiar with it or hasn't used it or has a preconceived notion of how to get into the dating scene through online. Give it a chance. It's going to feel odd. It's going to feel awkward. Don't prejudge it. Even when you have a catfish story,
I'm surprised you stayed on there, honestly.
Even when something happens and it might confirm your bias, if you have a bias, that's okay. Just take it in stride, just like you do anything else in life, because there are a lot of good people out there. And I'm a firm believer that you put the intention out there, if that's what you want, and you'll find your someone. As long as you show up to be you, you're honest, you treat people with honor, dignity, and respect, and you set boundaries. You just be you and don't apologize for being you, and don't try to be somebody else, right?
Absolutely.
So, awesome.
All right.
Good. So maybe next time we'll get together and we'll talk about all the lurid details of. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There are no lurid details.
Yeah.
Well, maybe a few, but.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
I love you.
I love you too.